left, face, reason, colors.
It is now time for the pledge. Attention, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ready, cut, right, face, forward, march.
My name is Ava Hardesty, and I'm a 4th grade leader here at Highland. I'm honored to welcome each one of you as our special guest for our annual Veterans Assembly. Our school honors you today for your dedication, service, and to your country. Thank you for coming and being a part of our program today. I hope you enjoy your time with us. I would like to introduce you to our principal, Ms. Beadler.
Well, good morning, everybody, and thank you so much to our guests for coming today. As you can tell, most of what we do here at Highland is all geared around leadership, and I can't think of any better leaders for them to learn from than each of you. We want to thank you for coming today. You're going to see them in action, but I wanted to take a moment just to say I'm so proud that you all are here, and thank you very much for your service.
As I was walking,
next part of the program, we're going to take just a moment to recognize something that we do here at Highland, and we want to make sure that you guys are aware. We have a special guest, but she's unable to be here, so I'm just going to kind of wing it for her. But each year, our 5th grade participates, well, actually, our whole school participates in service learning projects. Each grade picks something out of the community or something that's important to their heart and figures out a way to provide service to them. Our 5th grade makes collections to do care packages for Fort Campbell. And each year, Leslie McCarty comes and she gives a big pat on the back for all of the stuff that we've collected for our soldiers there in Fort Campbell. And so normally we would have her talking a little bit about that, but she was unable to be here today. You see behind me, that's just a sampling of the things that the 5th grade has collected over their time during the service learning project. And we're awfully proud of them for the hard work they do. They go to each classroom and they really encourage and they really think about what it is that our servicemen and women would need, and then they're so excited when those deliveries are made. So I'd like to give a big shout out to our 5th grade. They will be doing a service learning project again this year, which is the same, and I know we're going to have another picture just like that. That's all under the direction of our guidance counselor, if you did not know that, Miss Laura McCain. Next in our program, we're going to have a recognition of our military, and it's called our Armed Forces Medley. And so I would like to ask you, when you hear your branch's medley, if you would stand, we'd like to honor you.
a 5th grade leader at Highland, and we are so excited to welcome our guest speaker today. Mr. Nick Hetman is a 6-year veteran of the United States Navy, serving on board the USS Independence and attached to the 6th Fleet. Thanks to the United States Navy, Mr. Hetman graduated from the University of Tennessee School of Law. He then served as a senior attorney for both Texas Gas and Southern Star Central before retiring in June of 2015. After being retired for 1 year, he returned to practice with the law firm of Stevenson and Tierney. Mr. Hetman is married to Yvonne, and together they have 3 children and 5 grandchildren, one of which is a Highland kindergarten. Please help me welcome Mr. Nick Hetman.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Not bad for a morning, pretty good. I want to first thank the staff, faculty, and administration of Highland for offering me this wonderful invitation to speak to you on Veterans Day. And more importantly, thank you for your time for listening, because time is an important commodity to all of us, and sometimes the most important commodity we have. Before I start, I want to recognize somebody who's here with us today. We're very honored that our newly re-elected County Commissioner, Mr. Mike Coger, is sitting over here. Where are you, Mike? I also want to recognize, in order to keep myself out of trouble, my wife Yvonne is down here, and my soon-to-be son-in-law, who's a Marine, but he's an okay guy, Zach Jenkins, is up here. I have my grandchildren, and one of my grandchildren is sitting up there, but she refuses to let me acknowledge her, so Hannah, I won't. I want to start with a simple statement. Although my words today are simple and from the heart, I must admit that at my age, my memory's not what it used to be. And so for that reason, I have chosen to write down some comments rather than wing it. These are my comments. That's the bad news. The good news is you can probably read it from up there. That's the font size. As you've heard, I'm a proud veteran of the United States Navy, having served for 6 years, as are all of these veterans here, have served in one capacity or another. I was asked to speak today on the topic of who is a veteran. And as I started writing my comments, I realized that I can't say who a veteran is until I tell you why somebody would join the military and therefore become a veteran. I love to tell of my days in the Navy and what the Navy has done for me. But what is a veteran? What kind of a person would put themselves in potentially harm's way? Well, being a veteran means dedicating yourself to selfless service. A little background on myself, and I can only speak for myself on why. This is my family background. My father was a 20-year career Marine. My sister is a 20-year Navy commander. My brother-in-law is in the Navy. My soon-to-be son-in-law is a Marine. My 2 uncles were Army. It sounds like that was a family tradition. Well, let me give you some background. When I graduated from high school, I knew exactly what I was going to do. I was going to go to college. And I was the first in my family to do it. Well, after all that, the details were a little bit fuzzy. I had some vague ideas about life after college, but I really didn't have any idea. But if you think for 1 second that I was the kid who was pegged to be in the military, well, I have to tell you, I wasn't that guy. My coaches will tell you of my athletic prowess, or depending on the day, lack thereof. And sometimes I had long hair. Not so much now. But it was down to my shoulders on occasion, believe it or not. And I enjoyed tiptoeing the line between fun and trouble, and thank goodness most of the time I ended up on the side of fun. Like I said, my father was a 20-year career Marine, but the military, no, not a chance, not for this guy. Well, I attended college with the intention of becoming a teacher and a coach. Yes, I was an English major with a phys ed minor. I was your prototypical athletic, what's the word for it? I'll leave it alone. Along the way, a political science professor had an inkling that based on my performance in his particular class that I might have some interest in the law. Well, at his insistence and pushing, I took the law school admissions test, which is the test you have to have before you enter law school. And I scored well enough that I was admitted to a number of law schools. At that point, I decided rather than being a teacher and a coach, which is still my passion, I know Mrs. Pickens is up here somewhere, I had the pleasure of coaching 2 of her daughters at Apollo High School. I remained as a coach for a lot of years because it's still in my blood. But I was an attorney for 38 years. I'm still part-time because I still love helping. Well, in the movies, here's what you might call the big plot twist. The draft, and those of you that are not aware, particularly kids, is where the government forces you into the military because they need you. Well, that had temporarily stopped when I graduated from college in 1971. I know it seems like forever ago, and it was. Well, there was a chance that the draft would start up again, but rather than going to law school, I elected to join the Navy. And I knew I wanted to do something with my life. I wasn't quite sure at that stage. I wanted to make the world a better place. I wanted to do something I believed in. I wanted something greater than myself. I've had the opportunity to speak with Colonel Abel on occasion, who's sitting here in the back. And we have a very similar experience. He was Army, I was Navy, but we served for the same reasons, I think. We felt a calling. Just as all of these veterans here, at some point in time in their life, felt a calling. Well, I drove down to the United States Navy recruiter. And in there was the Marine recruiter, because the Marines are part of the Department of the Navy. Marines, what department? Yeah, the men's department, okay. Well, the Marine recruiter happened to be there the same day. And he asked me how many push-ups I could do. Well, I was in pretty good shape, but that was not exactly the comment that I wanted to hear from a recruiter. Needless to say, that was not the challenge I was looking for, so my short experience with the USMC, which is Uncle Sam's Misguided Children, was very short. But I was still not doing what I had planned to do for my life. I was not going to law school. I had to spend time away from my family, delaying my life dream so I could serve my country. Well, my years in the Navy were an adventure. Lots of unexpected twists and turns. I've seen things that have made me say, I can't believe they paid me to do this. Sometimes it was that good. Living part of my time on board a ship in places all over the world, living for 6 months in an apartment in Athens while I was attached to the Chief of Staff of the 6th Fleet. It was a life very different than what you and I live here in the United States today. But I felt so many conflicting emotions. On one hand, there was a pride of serving my country. On the other hand, I felt great sadness because I couldn't be with my family during special occasions. It was mind-numbing boredom at times. Intense joy at being the best this country has to offer. Absolute relief when a potentially deadly situation resolved itself without a fight. And occasionally, complete exhaustion. The full range of human emotion and memories that will last a lifetime. And I guarantee you, if you were to ask any one of these veterans over here, I guarantee they have shared the very same experiences. We're all the same because we're all doing something that we believe in. Along the way, I grew and changed. I learned the value of discipline, hard work, and more importantly, self-respect. But it's not just about what the service could do for you, could do for me. It's about what you can do for the people you truly care about defending our country and the values that we hold so dear. And I can tell you from personal experience, I won't speak for anybody else, there is no greater honor. Well, that's my story of why I became a veteran. Now, on the topic, who is a veteran? Well, when I'm honored enough to be asked to speak at one of these events, Veterans Day for organizations and schools, I always lead with this. Please listen to this very carefully because I'm going to ask you a question. Ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Please say it with me. Ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Remember this phrase, it's going to come back. Well, a synonym for joining the armed forces is being in the service. It's being in the service of the United States of America. Today, one has to volunteer to serve, which is very different than back in the days when I was speaking about. There are a lot of good aspects to an all-volunteer military. The all-volunteer force is more professional in every respect than it ever was under the draft because these people want to be there. It takes a special kind of volunteer to serve in the military. It's not a job where you can leave at the end of the day and say, oh, I'm glad that's over. It's a profession. It takes dedication. It's a calling. And every veteran, for their own reasons and in their own way, hears that calling and they answer it. Some of you might not realize, particularly you kids, might not realize in your daily life who might be a veteran. Now today it's pretty easy. If you look around at these veterans, how many hats do you see that you can tell what branch of service they were in? The answer is quite a few. But some of them don't have any indication of what service they were in, and yet they're veterans. My point is that veterans are all over around you. You may not know it. So it might be someone that works at a hardware store, someone that works at a distillery, somebody that works in the mall, somebody that teaches here in the school. I have a friend who was in the United States Navy, and he was a Navy SEAL. For those of you who don't know, Navy SEALs are among the most highly respected, highly trained professionals in the military that there is. Well, any guess what he does now? You don't have any idea. He's a plumber, and he's a very good plumber. He continues to serve this community in a way that serves him best now, but that's my point. You never know where these veterans are. And as I'm saying this, you're probably going through your mind, if you know veterans, what do these people do? And at some point in time, think about that during the day. You'll note that in all of these jobs, never once did I mention hero. Not once. If you ask any one of these veterans if they were a hero, they will tell you to a person, no, I'm not. I was doing a job I was doing my commanding officer told me to do, and I did it to the best of my ability. None of them did it for glory, and none of them did it for medals, I promise you. Some veterans have visible signs of their service. Some may have a missing limb. Some may have a jagged scar on their face. Some have a certain look in the eye. Well, except in parades, however, the men and women who served in the military wear no badge or emblem. You can't tell them from looking at them. He or she is the police officer who served in Saudi Arabia for 6 months, sweating out 2 gallons a day to be sure that the armored personnel carriers had enough fuel for the day. He's the high school ROTC chief here in the county who served as a cook aboard a submarine. 23 years he served. He was the chief petty officer on that boat, and at the time it was called the chief of the boat. That's one of the highest 3 people in command of that ship, even above some of the officers on there. Well, I'm personal friends with that person. She or he is the nurse who sat up sobbing every night for 2 years in Da Nang, Vietnam. He's the POW who went away one person, came back as another, or maybe didn't come back at all. He's the Quantico drill instructor. Quantico is a Marine Corps base who's never seen combat, but he's saved countless lives by taking these young people who didn't have a direction in life. They turned them into Marines. Taught them to watch each other's back. These proud veterans with us today will tell you what watching your back is. Zach, what is it? I got your 6. You'll hear that often. And what that means to you kids, imagine that life is a clock. 12 o'clock's here. If you're looking at 12, you can't necessarily see behind you. I got your 6. I got your back. And every veteran will feel that way. She or he rides in Veterans Day parades after pinning off the medals perhaps with a prosthetic hand. He's the career quartermaster. That's the person that offers out supplies, who watches the ribbons and medals passing by. But he does his job because every job in the military is important. He's one of the 3 anonymous heroes. That's where I'll use heroes. In the Tomb of the Unknowns at Arlington National Cemetery. We must forever preserve the memory of the anonymous heroes whose courage or valor dies unrecognized with them on the battlefield or in the ocean's sunless deep. He's the old guy bagging groceries at the grocery store who moves very slowly now. He or she is an ordinary yet an extraordinary human being. What was it? Ordinary people
Doing extraordinary things.
Thank you. A person who gave up some of the best years of their life when others around them were at home having fun, but did it, or she did it, to serve their country and sacrifice their ambitions so others didn't have to. So remember, each time you see someone who served our country, just lean over and say thank you. I promise you, that's what all veterans need. That's what most veterans need. That's all they need. Thank you. And in most cases, I guarantee you it will mean more than any medal or award they ever receive. 2 little words mean so much. Thank you. It's the soldier and not the reporter who gives us the freedom of the press. It's the soldier and not the poet who gives us freedom of speech. It's the soldier and not the campus organizer who gives us the right to demonstrate. It's the soldier who salutes the flag, who serves under the flag, and on occasion whose coffin is draped by the flag, who allows that protester to burn the flag. Well, what is a veteran? More specifically, what should it matter to you? These 3 things sum it up best. You're answering the call of service to your nation. It's character formed by experiences and how we respond to them. And it's a dedication to a code of conduct and standing for something greater than yourself. And yes, it had better matter to you. These are the men and women who work together to protect all of our freedoms. Without them, the freedoms that we take for granted and life as we know it would simply not exist. I want to thank each of you for listening today. You heard a remarkable song by this choir, and we're going to say it. God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you.